Good morning, guys, or good afternoon, whether you're joining me from the present or the future. Welcome back to another FutureFight Vanguard video. Like I said in the previous videos, we're going to be pumping out a lot more videos, pretty much 2 a day for the next 10 days. If I can manage to do that, I might do 3 some days, 4 some days, and not do some the next days. Just depends on how my schedule at work happens. But I'm going to be trying to pump out as many videos as possible. But yeah, I have a lot of things in the works right now. Second channel coming soon. It's gonna be a anime gaming channel, so you guys just be on the lookout for that. I will post stuff on the channel, and you guys will be made aware of it once it is made a reality. So yeah, but until then, we're just trying to keep our Cardfight channel up to date for you guys. Sorry that it has been a bit slack. A lot of things have been happening, been sick, and there's a girl, and like, you know, all this stuff now. Like, life is changing very rapidly, so I haven't had time to make videos. I haven't like had the mental ability to make videos because I've just been dog tired every single day. But yes, but it's like basically if we're not busy, we're going to a tournament or something like that. If we go to a tournament, we get home late and we're just tired and yada 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 yada. Anyways, all the excuses out of the way. We are back. We are going to be talking about our G-BT14 Darkness deck today. This makes us the second to last deck before being done with G-BT14, which puts us closer and closer to being caught up, which is really, really good. Basically, the last deck that we have to do after this is the Gear Chronicle deck, and you guys know these last 3 decks like Shiranui, Darkness, Gear Chronicle. These are all the broken decks out of G-BT14, basically. Like, who doesn't know about them if you play Vanguard and you know the meta? So, pretty much just a list for those of you who don't know how this deck works. But let's start off with our grade 3 count. We do run 6 grade 3s in this deck. We run less grade 3s because we run Igmatic Assassin. Sorry, that's like threw me off, but we run Assassin basically at 3, which is the grade 0, so we are having to take some space out of our grade 1 lineup. We took 2 out of our normal grade 1 lineup and then 2 out of our regular grade 3 lineup to add space for Assassin and a 12th grade 2, which we usually do anyways. So yeah, 6 grade 3s. The main grade 3 that you always want to ride is one who advances to Dawn, Scharhrot. So this is our new Scharhrot Vampire, basically. It has 2 abilities. The first ability is when your G unit strides, you may soul charge 2. When your G unit strides over this card, you soul charge 2. And then if you do, choose a card with the Darkness ability from your soul, put into the hand, and then you can choose up to 1 card from your hand and put into your soul. So you can take a card out of your soul and choose to put a card back into your soul or not. So really, really good. Usually I just end up putting Assassin into the soul if it's in my hand because it serves no purpose while it's in my hand except for being guard. Or you can put a Were-Tiger into your soul just to counterblast 1, draw 1, which is really good. Then its Darkness ability, which is the second ability, is at the end of the turn. If Darkness is active, then you can choose one of your grade 1 or greater rear guards and put into your soul. And then if you do, your opponent chooses one of their rear guards, retires it, and if the number of cards in your soul is 8 or more, then you countercharge 1. So this deck is very good at countercharging, uses counterblasts efficiently as well, and counterblasts are literally not a thing because of monochrome of Nightmare Land, so don't worry about that. Like, there's been like tons of times in this deck where I've used all my counterblasts, and then the next turn I've had all my counterblasts back. So counterblast doesn't really matter just because between this, the countercharging between this and monochrome is pretty insane, and you just won't have to worry about it that much. Then we run 2 Evil God Bishop Gasteel. So what Gasteel does is it has 2 abilities. First one is Vanguard and Rearguard ability. At the beginning of your ride phase, if the card in your soul is 8 or more, you choose one of your grade 3 cards with the Darkness ability on your Rearguard circle and return it to your hand. So basically just make sure that you can use Gasteel over and over and over again. And then Gasteel has an on-place ability that is Generation Break 2 Darkness. When this unit would be placed on the Rearguard circle, you can choose up to 2 grade 2 cards from your soul, put them into your drop zone, and this unit gains all of their abilities until the end of the turn. And also it gains their on-place abilities as well, because it is not placed yet. It's kind of like how Bloom works, but not. So when you have Gasteel, you basically want to choose Baleful Repressor and Demonted, or Baleful Repressor and Succubus, but sometimes you'll just have to do Succubus and Demonted Executioner. So just kind of be aware of what your options are, what grade 2s are in your soul or not, and then you want to have this card to play it on Rearguard Circle. And then at the beginning of your turn, if it's still there, you get to bounce it to your hand and do it all over again. So we run 12 grade 2s just for that purpose as well. We run 4 Baleful Repressor, pretty much the best card, or one of the best cards in this deck. I could say that's the best card in the main deck just because it synergizes so well with one of the new strides that we got, because this card allows you to not guard with grade 0s, and then our new stride, Balum, allows you to not guard with grade 1s. So basically when Baleful Repressor attacks, it makes sure that you can't guard with grade 0s or grade 1s, which means that your opponent can only guard with grade 2s or G-Guardians. And this card usually attacks for pretty big, so your opponent usually has to G-Guard like sufficiently in a sufficient way. So Generation Break 2 Darkness, when this unit attacks, if the number of cards in your soul is 8 or more until the end of the battle, this unit gets plus 10,000 power, and then your opponent cannot call grade 0 cards from hand to guard circle. So obviously pretty easy. Guard is strict, gets 10k. What else is there to say about it? It's like not much to say. But then let's move into our second grade 2, which is Demonted Executioner. So basically it has the first ability that it has, which is activation skill on the Rearguard Circle once per turn, Darkness. You can counterboss 1. If the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, it gets 2,000 power. And then the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, this unit gets plus 3,000 power. So if it's 10k or more, it gets the 2,000 and the 3,000, so it gets plus 5. So obviously enough to change a number. Plus 5 is always enough to change a number. And then the second ability, which is what this card is also really useful for, is when this card is placed on Rearguard Circle, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, search for 1 card with the Darkness ability, put into your soul, and shuffle your deck. So obviously when you do that in the early game, you want to be looking for Weretiger Jaeger, so you can counterboss 1 draw card with its third ability. Same with Succubus of Jealousy. Succubus of Jealousy's ability is when it's placed on the Rearguard Circle. If you have a Vanguard with the Darkness ability, which you always will, you may look at the top 5 cards from your deck, put up to 2 grade 1 or greater cards with the Darkness ability into your soul and shuffle. And then you want to be looking for those Jaegers or like your PGs, stuff like that. Things that activate in the soul that you can just put into the soul, and it's useful there. Then you have your continuous Rearguard Darkness ability, which says this unit gets plus 2,000 power when your Darkness is active. So pretty good. Then we have 4 Weretiger Jaeger. This card does so much for us in this deck. Like, it's honestly broken, because a lot of people are like, oh, well, you have to counterboss to draw, but I already said that like counterboss don't matter in this deck. So counterbossing is nothing in this deck. So you're basically drawing for free every time you put this card into the soul. It has 3 abilities. Let's talk about them. The first one is an activation ability that activates in the soul. If you have Darkness active, you can counterboss 1, choose the card from your hand and discard it. And if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, you soul charge 1. And then if the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, counting the Weretiger because it's still in the soul while this is happening, then you can return this card to your hand. So you get a free stride fodder back to your hand when you don't have cards to stride with. You can grab Weretiger Jaeger. So its continuous ability from the hand is when you're paying the cost for stride. If you have 2 or more cards in the soul with the Darkness ability, this card gets grade plus 2. So basically, it will make you be able to stride with this card if you have Darkness cards in your soul, which you always will. Like, not much of a debate there. And then the third ability, which makes it really good, is when this card's put into the soul for the cost or effect of your card during your turn, you can counterboss 1 and draw a card. So if it goes into the soul by any effect, like in any effect, any way, then you get to counterboss 1 and draw a card. So it's just really, very good. Then we have 4 Insulation Fallen Angel Acraciel. So this is our new PG. It has the Sentinel ability, meaning that you can't run more than 4 Sentinels in the deck. You guys know that already. Second ability is the PG ability. When it's placed on the guard circle from hand, discard a card. Choose one of your units with the Darkness ability, and it cannot be hit, so you can only PG cards with the Darkness ability. Useful for if they attack like Baleful Repressor because they're scared of that card staying on the board and you want to keep that card there, so you PG it or something. And then the third ability is when it's in the drop zone, Generation Break 2, you can, and your Darkness is active, you can counterboss 1, choose another Acrocio from your soul or drop zone and bind it, and then you can return this card to your hand. So you're activating the one that's in the drop zone, binding another one that's in the drop zone, or binding another one that's in the soul to get it back. Then we have 4 Were-Tiger Plunderer. Were-Tiger Plunderer has a darkness ability, very simple. During your turn, if you have a Vanguard with Scharhrot in its name, this unit gets plus 1,000 power for every card in your soul. So once you get to like those big soul amounts like 13, 15, this card will be getting 13k, 15k, etc., becoming a 20k, 22k booster, things like that, which can make it really good when it's behind Baleful Repressor because it just makes it a really big column. Then we have 1 Washdom Vampire. What Washdom Vampire does is it has 2 abilities. The first one is Forerunner, meaning that you can move it back to a rearguard circle when ridden upon, like most starters in the game. Second ability is Generation Rig 1 Darkness Act skill on the rearguard circle. Choose Counterboss 1 and put this card into your soul. Then choose one of your other rearguards and retire it. Then you choose up to 2 grade 1 or greater cards with the Darkness ability from your soul and put them into your hand. When you do put them into your hand, it's just really good just because you can basically funnel through your entire soul and grab any 2 cards that you need. If you need a Scharhrot because you rode Gasteel, you can get Scharhrot. If you need Scharhrot because you're planning to dust your opponent, you can get Scharhrot. If you need to get Baleful Repressor because you're on the Balam turn and you're planning to kill your opponent. If you need to grab a Were-Tiger Jaeger because you want to have Stride Fodder, that is going to also be a guard. If you want to grab your PGs, like there's so many options. Like if you want to grab Were-Tiger Plunderer, you can do anything you want basically. But yeah, the only thing that you can't do is you can't grab the starter back and you can't grab Assassin back. So these are pretty much cards you want to keep in your soul anyways because you can grab them with Scharhrot Vampire when you can add a darkness card from your soul to your hand, so you can grab the starter the next turn around. Then we have 3 Ignatic Assassin, like we were saying before. It has a skill that activates in the soul when in darkness. At the beginning of your attack step, you can move this card out onto the field if you have 10 or more soul. If you do, this card gets plus 5,000 power. And then the card in your soul is 15 or more, this card gets plus 10,000 more power. So it can be a 20k. Sorry guys, it can be a 20k base by itself if you have 15 more cards in the soul after it's called out. So then for our triggers, we run 4 crit, 8 stand, 4 heal. For our crit, we run the Scharhrot crit, basically goes to the soul. When our Vanguard attacks, gives Vanguard 5k, we draw a card, it goes to the soul. And then Monochrome of Nightmare Land, probably the best stand trigger that Dark Regular's ever gotten and will probably ever have. Its skill is Generation Break 1. Shuffle this card into your deck. So you put this card on the top of your deck, you shuffle. Then you Soul Charge 1. If you have 6 or more cards in your soul, which you probably will, you get to unflip a damage. And then if you have 10 or more cards in your soul, you draw a card. So a lot of times people use this card and they just draw right back into this card because it shuffles into the deck before drawing. So and then when you're using it, you should be aware that you are getting 1 card deeper in your deck every single time just because of the soul charge. Even though you are putting back a card and drawing a card, you are soul charging a card as well. So do keep track of that so that you don't deck out. Then we have 4 Werefletter Informant or Informant. It is one of our new stand triggers. It has an activation rearguard ability, Generation Break 1 Darkness, that says put this card into your soul. If you have a grade 4 Vanguard, draw a card. And then if you choose one of your rearguards, then it can gain 3,000 power until the end of the turn. So it changes the numbers of your rearguards as well. You can use this card to, like, say, pump Baleful Repressor to 22k when it attacks, which is really good. Changes the number, etc. And then we have 4 Mon's Follower, Abysm Lust. Abysm Lust is our new heal trigger. Basically says when we G-Guard, and if there's 2 heal triggers in our drop zone, we can bind 2 heals, and we can choose to counter charge 1 or soul charge 1. Just another way to keep our resources alive. As usual, getting to our G zone, we have one of our ultimate strides. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that we're talking about this ultimate stride. So let's talk about it in depth. This is the ultimate stride for Dark Zone, which is 0th Dragon of the End of the World, Dust. As you guys can tell from the name, it is probably the most broken Ultimate Stride that is released right now. This card is super ultra good. It had a version of it that was so good that they literally had to errata it to pull it back a little because the whole community was like, no, heck no. But basically, what it did before was Counterboss 2. When you place on Vanguard Circle until the end of the turn, all your opponent's Vanguard and Rear Guards lose their abilities. So if your opponent has any like defensive abilities on their Rear Guards or anything like that, they lose all of that. Then their grades and power increase or decrease to 1. So if they have grade 0s on the board, they become grade 1. If they have, I don't know, grade 2s or grade 3s on the board, they become grade 1. Your opponent's Vanguard becomes grade 1, which before the new rules, keep in mind that that doesn't allow you to guard with grade 2s, only allows you to guard with grade 1s or less. And then that also, since you're not grade 3 anymore, you can't G-guard. So it takes away your ability to G-guard, and it takes away your ability to guard with grade 2s, and even intercepting, just because when all your Vanguards and Rear Guards lose their abilities, they lose their abilities like Boost, Intercept, and things like that. They lose Twin Drive, etc. So, and if the number of cards in your opponent's damage zone is 4 or less, you deal your opponent 1 damage, and they do a damage check. So, basically, and I forgot to mention that their power also goes to 1, so it makes the guarding super, super difficult. So the way that Dust used to be before is it just did damage no matter what. Meaning that you could be at, your opponent could be at 5 damage, you go into Dust and you just deal them that 6 damage just from using the ability. And people didn't want the Dust to be an auto win like that, so they did pull it back, thankfully. I did not want it to be an auto win either, just because Dark Zone decks are already broken enough as is. It's hard enough to, or it's easy enough for a Dark Zone deck to push you to 5 damage as it is, so I didn't want that to be a thing that I had to deal with in a competitive nature. But yeah, Dust is basically like when you're using Dust in combination in this deck with like Baleful Repressor, stuff like that, like Succubus, even Succubus of Jealousy, because Succubus of Jealousy will be plus 2k if you soul charge it all, which you probably will. You'll be Darkness, and then it'll be 11k, 11k. So your opponent will have to guard with 15k each time, and they can't guard with, you know, grade 2s or G-guard. So if they have heal triggers in their hand, their heal trigger literally gets a nerf because their heal trigger just has to be used as a 10k shield. And they can't like G-accelerate, so they can't like do a super powerful play back to you after you dust them. But do beware, obviously, just because, you know, Ultimate Striding, if you fail your Ultimate Stride, you will have to give up your entire G-Zone for the rest of the game. So yeah, don't do that. If you can't win, don't do it. Then we have One Who Hunts Souls Balam. This is pretty much our Broken Dark Irregular Stride that came out in this set. Its first ability is activation skill Vanguard once per turn. Counterboss 1 and choose a Balam from your G-Zone turning face up. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and that this unit gets that unit's power and +1 drive, and then you retire that unit. Then you may soul charge 2 for each face-up card in your G-Zone, which helps you get to that 13 stack that you need for the second ability. And the second ability is continuous Vanguard skill, Generation Break 3, Darkness. If the number of cards in your soul is 13 or more, your opponent cannot call grade 1 cards from the hand to the guard circle. So basically this allows your opponent to guard with grade 1s, and that's pretty much just the way the cookie crumbles. Like, you use it with Baleful Repressor, your opponent gets super sad. Then we have One Who Splits Darkness, Breadamouth at 4. Breadamouth is basically just the thing that we go into that prevents us from decking out, but it rewards us for not decking out, which is, this deck's dumb, and this card is dumb. I hate this deck. But the Generation Break 2 ability of this card is when it's on the Vanguard circle once per turn, Darkness. You can, when this unit attacks, if the number of cards in your soul is 10 or more, Counterboss 1, choose a Breadamouth, turn it face up, and then choose 2 cards from your hand and put them into your soul. And then if you do, return all the grade 0 cards from your soul and rearguard circle to the deck, shuffle your deck, and then choose 2 of your units, and they get power plus 5,000 until the end of the turn. And then at the end of the battle, you stand this unit, and it gets plus drive -2. So basically, you get triple drive the first time, and then -2 drive the second time to get 4 drive checks. So it gets 4 drive checks, and it has the restanding ability. So it basically like doesn't punish you for being low in deck; it rewards you. So puts all these triggers back into your deck and the assassins in your starter, and then you get to just go willy-nilly on your opponent, and like restand on them too. So then we have one slashing Strike of Sorrow, Rugarius. Rugarius is basically the card that we go into first stride if things are looking pretty bad for us, and we don't have the grade 3 that we want or something like that, or we don't have any counterblasts. We can just go into this and just attack with a vanilla stride because we don't really want to waste our other strides. But Rugarius' skill is activation skill. Once per turn, counterblast 1, choose a face down card from your G zone, turn it face up. Soul Charge 3, then choose one of your rear guards for each card Soul Charge with different grades and give it plus 5,000. And then if a card with the Darkness ability is Soul Charge, you can choose one grade 3 card from your soul, put into your hand. So that's usually how we get to Scharhrot when we have to ride Gasteel, and it's a terrible day for us when we have to ride Gasteel, so you want to fix that as fast as possible. Then we have one Coffin of Absolute Zero, Rutland Vitre. So this is our Generation Break 8. In this deck. It's actually pretty good if you actually manage to make it there. Your opponent seems to never make it there, but if you make it to the point where you have to use the G-BT14 on your opponent, all the units in your front row get plus 13k and a critical for every 13 cards in your soul. You're really only going to have 13 cards in your soul. You're not going to have like 26 or something insane like that. So basically your if you have Baleful Oppressors on the front row, they will have 19k base by themselves, plus 13, which will be 32 with a crit. And then obviously you'll check stand triggers because your deck will be low at that point. And you'll have a bunch of triggers in your deck from Bread of Mouth. So, you know, just you can do what you can with the GBA. Attack for 32 with a crit, no guard with graded zeros. 32 with a crit, no guard with grade zeros. Vanguard attacks for 39 with a crit. And then you check stand triggers and you do shenanigans. But pretty strong card. Then we have our G-Guardians. We have 5 G-Guardians. We have 1 Medicine of Discontinuation, Vincent. Vincent is our G-Flip Guardian, which means that it requires Generation Break 1. So Generation Break 1, when this card is placed on the guard circle and your Generation Break 1 already, you can flip a G-Guard face up. If you do Soul Charge 1, and this unit gets plus 5,000 shield for every 5 cards in your soul to the end of the battle. So 5 cards in your soul gets you 5,000 shield. 10 cards in your soul gets you 10k shield, 15k, or 15 cards in your soul gets you 15k shield. So very good. Then we have 1 accumulated attachment, Drew Nazu. So what Drew Nazu does is it has a continuous guard circle ability that says that the number of cards in your soul is 8 or more, this unit gets plus 10,000 shield. Then the second ability is when this card is placed on the guard circle, choose one of your grade 1 or greater cards with the darkness ability. You can put into your soul and draw a card. So if you have a Were-Tiger Jaeger on the field, you can put this go into this G-Guard, put Were-Tiger Jaeger into the soul, draw a card, then counterboss 1 for Were-Tiger and draw another card. So this deck is just full of secret ways to plus using Were-Tiger and stuff like that. So then we have 2 False Dark Wings, Agrat, Bat, Malat. So this card pretty simplistic. It was the first G-Guard we ever got for Dark Regular, so it is meant to be simplistic indeed. But when this card is placed on guard circle, Soul Charge 2, and if the number of cards in your soul is 6 or more, then this unit gets plus 5,000 shield until the end of the battle. So basically just becomes a 31k block for you to block in the early game. Sometimes I G-Guard it with this, and then I go into Balam, just because I want to kill my opponent first stride or something like that, or I want to really pressure them first stride. It's really useful. And then we have 1 Phantasm Beast Bitter, Sabnak. What Sabnak does is when this unit is placed on guard circle during the battle that your opponent's Vanguard attacked, if we have 10 or more cards in our soul, we can counterboss 1. This unit gets plus 5,000 shield. Your Vanguard gets plus 5,000 shield to the end of the turn. So basically, it's really good against decks that do like multi-attacks or something like that, so that you can also have a way to guard against rear guard for the rest of the turn after you guard with Sabnak. So very, very solid card. Very good card. We're going to open back up our Cardfight area here so that we can get right into our games. We're going to load Darkness 1. So we're playing against Great Nature, our first game. So we ride, they attack us, they get Coiling Duckbill, we take a damage. We ride, we check top 7 for Demonted, we put Were Tiger into Soul, we draw, and we put 2 cards into our Soul. One is a Were Tiger. Unfortunately, our Great Nature opponent didn't crit us the first turn because we would be able to draw another card. We don't have a grade 3 right now, so things are looking bleak. But our opponent also had a G assist for a grade 2, so we're kind of in the same boat right now. Our opponent attacks our Rearguard for 14. We take it. We just stay on grade 2. We attack, and then we attack. He takes both attacks. And then he's not running Sabreeze, I'm guessing, so he attacks into our Rearguard, checks a crit. And then we top deck Gas Steel, and we're forced to stride. We don't have any counterblast, so we just go into our stride with 2 cards, and then we attack, and our opponent PGs, so we check a heal, but it doesn't go off. Our opponent strides into Barwool, uses the skill of Big Belly, call Approval Frigate to the field, then calls Ocelot, uses the skill of Mike Saburo to give the skill to Frigate, uses the skill of Barwool to do Frigate, give power to Frigate, and then he attacks with Ocelot, but he never used the skill except when he like counterblasted, which is weird, but I let him get away with it basically. But I do check double trigger so that his card doesn't hit. At the end of the turn, he draws 2, and he searches a grade 3 for the Mike Saburo skill. So then he shuffles, ends his turn. We top deck a grade 3, which is God bless, because that would have been awful. So we use Ballum skill. We soul charge 4. We look at the top 2. We put 2 Scharhrots in the soul. We look at top 7. We put a Were Tiger in the soul. We draw into a monochrome. So we're able to monochrome, unflip 1, and then the card that we soul charged was a Were Tiger. So we don't use the skill because we want to use our starter skill. So we use the starter skill to get 2 cards out, or we actually just get 1 card out because we want our Scharhrot. So we end up attacking for 16, and then we attack for 35, no grade 1s. So our opponent G-guards into Ardillo, so that's 2 to pass. And then our opponent doesn't want to guard with any more, so we get a stand trigger. We give power to Vanguard and stand our Rearguard. Stand trigger, power to Vanguard, stand our Rearguard. And so basically, like, whenever someone 2 passes you, we just have quad drive in that deck. So yeah, we basically have quad drive in that deck. So it's basically just one of those things where you don't really care you just don't really care that your opponent is trying to do things to you, or you don't really care that your opponent's guarding, rather. But let's talk about our second game of area. Gotta make it a bit smaller, and then we're gonna load our Darkness 2 replay. So second replay, we're playing against Machining. We ride, they attack us. We take a crit to the face. We actually have like kind of a good hand this game, so our opponent guards our Rearguard attack and then blocks Vanguard. We take, and then we ride Scharhrot. We check top 7. We call a Were Tiger Jaeger just to use as the combo with Scharhrot that you guys will see at the end of the turn. We check 2 cards. We put our starter in the soul, retire his card, and then we kind of also want to draw. He strides with 2 cards. He goes into Overwhelm. He draws 3 cards because we have 3 rested units. And then he kind of also 1 to make sure that our Succubus of Jealousy is stunned. He attacks 16 to Vanguard. We G-guard just so that we can use Ballum for a stride against him. And then we take a damage. We stride. We grab out a Were Tiger Jaeger. We put a card into our soul. We use Ballum to soul charge 4 and get quad drive. We use Vampire skill of our starter to get out 2 cards. Then we play 2 Belfuls and the Were-Tiger behind that, Were-Tiger Plunderer. And then we attack for 19, no grade 0s, no grade 1s. He takes it. We attack for 30 or 40, no grade 0s, no grade 1s. And then we attack for 26. He just takes it, but we would have gotten 1 stand trigger out of our quad drive, so he would have had to guard this. And he had all grade 0s and grade 1s in his hand except for 1 grade 2, which could not block. So that's just what I'm talking about, like the combo being super stupid. Like if you can just make the combo, like your first stride, like your opponent's just like, what the hell, this is broken type thing. So yeah, let's talk about game 3 here. Gotta load up Darkness 3. Our opponent's also playing Darkness, so this is going to be pretty interesting. Our opponent rides, we ride, we attack. Our opponent takes damage. Our opponent rides, attacks us for 14. We take a damage. We ride, we attack our opponent for 14. We take a crit, so pretty good. Our opponent checks a heal, so we're like toe for toe right now. I thought my opponent didn't have a grade 3, so they just chose not to ride. Or they wanted to use their starter first, which was a big mistake for them because I can still retire their starter like this. I get a stand trigger, so I attack them. They're forced to waste cards at the end of the turn. I put 1 card in the soul. I retire 1 of their cards that I draw for Were-Tiger. So he strides into Balam. This is also bad for him just because I'm able to G-guard first, which means that I'm able to use Balam's skill, his true skill first, his Generation Break 3. So he looks at top 5 for Succubus of Jealousy, draws 2 cards because he puts 2 Were-Tiger Jaegers. He tried to use Were-Tiger Jaeger's skill, but he only had 6 in the soul, so he misread Jaeger and thought that 6 or more in the soul allows you to soul charge and add. But we G-guard the rear guard, and then he checks stand trigger, stand trigger, stand trigger, and so we just take all of that. End of the turn, he puts the card in his soul with Scharhrot's ability. We stride. We use Balam to soul charge 4. We put down 2 Balefulls. We use skill 2 monochromes, unflip 2. We're using the skill Were-Tiger Jaeger just to get another booster, and then we use the skill of Were-Tiger Jaeger to get a stride fodder for the next turn in case he survives. So we attack for 26, no grade 0s, no grade 1s. He no guards, same thing with the other side, he no guards. We attack for 33, he guards for 21, 31, 41, 2 to pass. Big mistake. We check crit trigger all Vanguard, heal trigger all Vanguard, and then just check 2 more cards, and he takes his 2 damage, and that ends up being game. But yeah, like I said, don't 2 to pass this deck. They will F you up for that. So yeah, but that has been the Darkness Scharhrot FutureFight. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you like the video, or you dislike the Darkness deck, or you like the Darkness deck, be sure to leave a thumbs up on the video. Helps a lot more than you guys think. Also, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to stay updated to the channel, you want to support the channel. And after you hit the subscribe button, be sure to click the bell button to stay up to date with videos. It will send you a notification every time one of our videos goes live. And then you can check the description to follow along with our social medias, which are Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And if you are interested in supporting the channel a little more than liking and subscribing, then those options are there as well, which would be through our Patreon or our merch store. But with that being said, this has been Josh from Cardfight Empire, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Peace, guys.